All right, let's do this. Unit 5 test review. Use the percent model to answer the questions below. Ratio of shaded squares to total. Okay. So shaded to total. I'm going to assume this is a hundreds grid, but we should probably check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yes, hundreds grid. Looks like 25 are shaded out of 100. So since it's asking for the ratio, I would probably go ahead and simplify that to be 1, 4 or 1 to 4. 1 to 4. Percent of model is shaded. Oh, well, that's easy because we already have out of 100 right here. So I would just say 25%. How are percentage and ratios related? So it's still part to whole. It's comparing two things. Yeah, I would say it's comparing two things because that's what a ratio does, is compare two separate things. So that's where I would start. All right, number 2. If a model doesn't have 100 total pieces, write the ratio as a fraction and find an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. This strategy is only possible if you can scale to the denominator of 100. Okay. What is the ratio of shaded squares to total number of squares? Okay. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right. So to figure out how many I have, I'm going to do 5 times 16, which you know me, I like to break it up. So 50. 5 times 6 is 30. So we have a total of 80. And then I'm going to count how many are shaded, right? The ratio of shaded squares to total. Yep. So 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So 10 or 3 groups of 10. So that's 30. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So plus 18, so 48. So the ratio of shaded squares to total, I would say, would be 48 to 80. We probably want to simplify that. So maybe divide by 8, and that would get us 6 to 10, and we could divide that by 2 and get 3 to 5 maybe. So I think the best answer, simplified, would be 3 to 5. You could write it as a fraction if you wanted. Show how the ratio can be written as a fraction. So we did that. Oops, sorry. What percent would it be? Well, if I could get it to 3 to 5, then I could also get it out of 100 because 5 times 20 is 100. So 3 times 20 times 20 would be 60, which would be 60%. What strategy can be used when you cannot convert the denominator to 100? All right. What percent of the model is shaded? So we know, looks like we have 1, 2, 3. So we know it's 3 out of something. I'm just going to keep counting. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay. If we simplified this, if we divide by 3 and divide by 3, I would get 5 and 1. Then we could go up to 100, right? Times 20. 20. And then that would be 20%. So I'm not sure why they say it can't be converted to 100, because this one could, unless I miscounted. I mean, double check me. Maybe I just miscounted, but... And 3 divided by 3, 15 divided by 3 is 5. Yeah, that should work. So double check me. But I think that's a lot of work on one page. Sorry, I should have broken this into smaller pieces. All right, divide the strip diagram below into the same number of sections as the denominator, then shade in the same number of sections as the numerator. All right, so we need 8 parts. So I would do a half first, and then a half of that. That cuts it into fourths, and then a half of that will cut it into eighths. So these are little benchmarks. Shade in 1/8, okay? Now label where your benchmark fraction and percent should be on the same strip. This will sometimes tell you the exact percentage, but not always. Okay, so kind of 0, 0. Whoops, hit my eraser button. 100. And then we're looking at our percent. Well, so we know that 1/8 is 12.5%, right? That's the one that told you I was really helpful to remember. If you don't remember that, what you may want to think of is when we did fourths, most of us are pretty good at figuring out those. And so if you can figure out 25% is this big section here, then you can say, well, half of that is just 25 divided by 2, which is where we get in the 12.5. What do you estimate the percentage of 1/8 to be? Oops, sorry. Just going ahead of myself. What would you estimate the percentage of 2/8 and 3/8? Well, 2/8 is the same as 3 is the same. So here, 2/8 is the same as 1/4. So that would be 25%. And then 3/8 would be right here. So I would add 12.5% to my 25. So that would get me, what, 37.5%. So once I figure out this guy right here, I can use it to figure out the rest of the percentages. All right. Okay, now we're doing it with 2/5. Okay, so fifths, I would cut it into 5 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't do a very good job, but let's imagine that those are equal. And then I'm going to go ahead and label my zeros and my 100%. And then we know if we take 100 divided by 5, we get 20, 40, 60, 80, and then 100. So those are all percentages. What do you estimate the percentage of 2/5? So here's 1/5, 2/5. So I would say 40%. 3/5 would get me to 60%. And then 4/5 would get me to 80%. A number line can be used the exact same way. Divide it into the same number of sections as the denominator. Place the point based on the numerator. Okay, so we need thirds. So I'm just going to roughly cut it into thirds. Remember that we know, or we should know, a third is 33.33%. And 2/3, we're going to double that. So 66.2/3%. So 1/3 would be right here. And it's not really an estimate because we've memorized it now. 33.33. And then the other one would be a dot right here. 66.2/3. If they ask for decimal, remember we also want to remember that this equals 3 repeating and that this equals 6 repeating. So these are terms these are benchmarks that I really think are helpful for you just to memorize. That way you don't have to calculate it every time. All right, draw a line to match the decimal to the corresponding percent. Okay, so I'm going to start with the easy ones, like this one, 88 hundredths. So 88 hundredths is already out of percent. So I'm just going to go to 88%. This one is 8 hundredths. So that must mean it's 8%. So where's my 8%? This next one right here, don't make that simple mistake. Make sure you make it out of 100. So 80 hundredths, that way you know that it's going to be 80%. Okay, let's see. What would I do next? So I know the ones with whole numbers, like this one here, and this one here is going to be 100%. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a 0. So this right here would be 8%, but plus the 1 would be 108%. So I'm going to find that one down here at the bottom. This other one would be 180% because we have 80 hundredths. And then my last one, the tricky one, is going to be right here. There we go. Ooh, another hard one. Fill out the table below with multiple representations of equivalent fractions, decimals, and percents. Okay. 40% of bicycles sold on Amazon are mountain bikes. So we need 40% as a fraction. We know that that's going to be out of 100. So 40 out of 100. If I can say 40 hundredths, I can draw 40 hundredths. And then the percent, since it's out of 100 and 40%, it's already given us 40%. And then for a model, oh, I don't know, we could do 4/10, we could do 2/5. I think I would do 2/5. So here, I'm going to make a weird model. Two out of 5 is red. We could do that. But what they probably want us to do is just draw a little rectangle. And then we're going to color in 2/5. Probably a better model. Okay. Data shows that 3/15 of the bike are defective in some way. I should note that they probably want us to simplify this one to 2/5. So you probably want to simplify that. Data show that 3/15, so let's start with 3/15. And then same thing, I'm probably going to simplify that. I'm going to divide both of them by 3 and get 1/5. As a decimal, I would want to change that out of 10. So for example, 1/5 equals something out of 10. That's going to be 2/10. So then I'm going to draw 2/10. So here's my actual answer for that one. Percent, since we have 2/10, that means we would have 20 hundredths. So that's going to be that. And then 1/5, I would kind of do the same thing. Color 1, 2, 3, 4, and we want 1/5. There we go. All right, let's do another one. I want a different color. Let's do like teal or something. There we go. The average bike tire is 2 5/100 inches. So 2 5/100. 2 5/100. So all I'm doing is saying it and then rewriting it. Now notice they'll probably want to simplify this to be, I'm going to write it over here, 2 and 1 over 20, right? If we divide by 5. So that one would go right there. The decimal, 2 5/100, 2 5/100. Percent would be 200% and 5% added together. Boom, because the 2 equals 200%, and then the 5/100 equals 5%. So when I add those together, I get that. And then the model, I would have one hole colored all in, one hole colored all in, and then I'd have one that's cut into 20 parts. So that'd be a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20 parts, and I'm going to color in one of them. Not the prettiest model, but hopefully you get the point. Okay. Then 1/8 of a bicycle. Okay, so 1/8. Oh, I should have picked a different color. Let's see, what do we want to do now? How about, I don't know. I want a pretty color. I guess we could just do, we could do black. That's pretty, right? Pretty. 1/8 is, okay, so 1/8. We know that the decimal is 0.125 because we memorized it. We know that the percent is 12.5. And then 1/8, we would cut something into 8 sections. Here, we'll just do it this way. And then we're going to color in 1/8 of it. Boom, shakalaka. All right. 9. A car has used 3/5 of its tank of gas. What decimal represents that? Okay. So 3/5. Remember, for it to be a fraction, it's got to be out of 10, out of 100, out of 1,000, or decimal, excuse me. So luckily, I can just go from here to here and do times 2. So I would do here times 2, and I would get 6/10. Well, I know that 6/10 is written this way. There you go. Drake's lives in 1,500 miles away from the closest. What fraction? So 1,500. I'm just going to say that. 1,500. And then the only thing with fractions is they're probably going to want us to simplify. So in this case, I would divide by 5 and divide by 5, and I would get 3/20. And that should be your simplest terms. 17 out of 20 people who work at Mark have not taken a day off all year. What decimal represents the number of people who have taken a day off this year? So be careful, because it says not taken up here. So what I would do, the total's 20 and the 17, so that means 3. Oops. 3, that looks cool. 3 out of 20 have taken a day off. 17 out of 20 people who work for Mark have not taken a day off. What decimal represents the number of people who have taken a day off? Okay, so, and we're just looking for the decimal. So I would probably make it out of 100 times 5 times 5, 1,500. So I would write 1,500. If you don't know your place value, or if you're not good at changing a fraction to a decimal, it's probably because you don't know place value. I've got a good video for that, so if you just look up, place value or something, or pull me aside in class, I can go over that with you. 24 out of 32 students bought shirts to wear at Spirit Day. What percent best represents the students who bought shirts? So we bought and bought, so nothing tricky there. 24 out of 32, but we want it to be a percent, so that's important. So I want it to be out of 100, so I'm going to see if we can get lucky and put something in between here. So I know that we can divide both of these by 8, right? 24 divided by 8 would be 3, and 32 divided by 8 would be 4. And most of you know that one, but if not, we're going to do times 25 times 25, and we get 7,500, which, again, we're looking for a percent. 75%. Solve to find part, whole, percent, including, okay, so I think what they're asking here is just to fill in your part, your whole, and your percent. So this is what we've been using for a couple weeks now, so hopefully we got that okay. All right, Joey made an extra $15 cleaning fall leaves from the gutters of the neighbor's home. This was 20% of the $75 he makes monthly. Okay, so the percent, let's go with the easy stuff first. The percent is 20%. this was 20%, so I think this is $15, and I think the whole was $75. Pewter contains about 6%. Let's go and fill that in. 120 pounds of pewter contains approximately 7.2 pounds of antimony. Ooh, hard word for me. All right, so 6%. Pewter contains 6%, so I think the part is 7.2 and the whole is 120, right? Because 6%, let me highlight it. 6% is that funky word I can't pronounce, and then 7.2 is also that funky word I can't pronounce. So I think that's why it goes here as the part, and then your whole would be the 120. All right, couple more, almost done. 300 shoppers bought a turkey this past week at the grocery store. 82% of those customers also bought cranberry sauce, which was 246. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that this is our total, and then we have our percent is that, so total, and then I think our part is 246. Hopefully you're getting good at identifying these. 280 people attended the Brahmas ice hockey game yesterday. 210 of those attendants received a Brahma. What percentage? Okay, so percent is going to be our X. We don't know that. Our whole, I think, is 280, and then 210 is our part. So if I was setting this up, I would do this, set up my X, and then to solve it, I would probably divide both of these. Ooh, I want to divide them by 7 just to see what they, so actually I would divide them by 70. So if I was doing it, I would set it up a little different. I would divide by 70 because I noticed that they're a fact of 7. So that would be 3 over 4. Then I would do this because then I could do times 25 times 25, and I would get 75%. So that's how I would do it. I would do it a little different than this guy here. Okay, 2 more. Today only, a store is offering a $4 discount on the price of a family meal. This is 20% off the regular price. What is the regular price? So I think we're looking for the whole, and 4 is our part. So I think I would do 20%, 4 here, and X. I would actually reverse it a little bit. I've gotten in this habit of putting like what I know first, and then putting what I want kind of over here. But either way is going to work. And then I have 4. So I would do divided by 5 and divide by 5. And I would get 20 as my whole. Double check me. I'm going really fast, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to make this an hour-long video. All right, last one. The total price, including tax, for a pair of shoes was $44. The tax was 10%. So I'm going to put my percent. How much was the tax? So I think our tax is the part, and our whole was $44. So we know our 10%, we know our whole, we're looking for our part. So again, I would set it up just a little different. I don't know why I prefer to put it this way. And then my X would go on top. Okay. Decisions. You can multiply by decimal. What I may do is go, I don't know. This seems, what if I did 4,400? So I multiplied it by 44, and then I would get 440 here, maybe. and then divide by 100. Is that right? And I would get 4 4/10. Or another way to do it is we know that 10% of 44 just we're really dividing by 10. So we're moving that decimal over 1. That was what our number talks have been about this week. So that's definitely the hardest one, I think. That was a tricky one. All right, guys, I know this was really long. Hopefully you sped through the parts you understood and stopped at the ones you didn't. You didn't have to watch this entire thing. So, but hopefully it was helpful. All right, guys, have a good one.